There would be always a crowd of 5, 7, 10 people with me who would be listening to my stories or anecdotes and all. You have achieved a certain height in your content creation journey in your professional career, balancing it both and staying so calm, composed. We are not creating anything, it is all around us. We are just catching it. And should you write what the audience will like, or should you write what you will like? Yes. And I generally write from a place of the sheer ability of a scientist to convert the very complex topic into a podcast for general public, podcast about talking about the science of sleep.
Hello from Bangalore, India. I'm your host, Pamela, and you're tuned into Transition Story. Join us as we listen into inspiring tales from our guests, glean valuable learnings, and take action to apply them to our daily lives. We are thrilled to have with us a very special guest, Anshuman Tiwari, the Global Head of Operational Excellence at DXC. Anshuman is not only a leader in his field, but also a gifted content creator with a significant presence on platforms like LinkedIn and YouTube over the last few years. Anshuman is widely recognized for his engaging and insightful shows, including the highly successful Manage Better show, which recently celebrated its 100th episode. The show has featured industry stalwarts like Ankur Warikoo and continues to inspire professionals around the globe. His initiative, Career Corner, is a must watch series offering valuable professional lessons that can be easily grasped on the go. Affectionately known as the Brick by Brick Guy, Anshuman has a unique talent for simplifying complex ideas, making them accessible and relatable to his audience. Get ready for an enlightening conversation as we dive into Anshuman's journey, his passion for content creation, and his philosophy for finding fulfillment in everyday work. Let's get started. Anshuman, lovely to have you on the show. Welcome once again. First of all, thanks a lot for agreeing to do this for me. It means a lot. And as a content creator who is 6 months old, I have been getting inspired with your content for the last 5 years. A lot of my leadership journey is inspired by what you keep posting. So, on behalf of people who listen to you and get inspired, and the people that I talk to, I'd like to say thank you. No, thank you, Pamela. Pleasure and the joy is mutual. I am very conscious that when I started my journey, a lot of people said yes without thinking, without even asking a question. So now that I'm a little further ahead in the journey, I try my best to make sure that any request that comes in, and particularly from people I know and respect, I always try and find time. So don't worry, the pleasure is and joy is mutual. Excellent. Before we dive into your journey, Anshuman, any special feelings, any special message you want to share with your listeners? I don't believe I am in that stage where I can share messages now that you ask. From a content point of view, from somebody who writes regularly on LinkedIn, I get this question quite a lot, that how are you so consistent and how do you find these topics and so on. And I keep saying that, the topics and the content come later. First comes your life and experience. So live your life well, have some experience, collect, collate, curate all those experiences. The stories will come. Yes. Don't look for the stories before the experience. A lot of young creators are falling in this trap today. And I say young with responsibility because we now have to be able to guide them as well. Correct. That they are looking for stories before the experiences. That never happens. So that's my only message whenever I speak to anybody asking for content and all. I have the stories because I have the experience. And then, of course, the storytelling capability and skills come, which you have to keep honing. So that correct. Maybe we will, if we get time today, we will discuss a little bit. Yes, yes. Of course, the overall conversation has a lot of key points where we will capture all of that. But so nice of you to start the show with such, humble thoughts. And I so resonate with what you just said without the experience. And in fact, if I reflect on my journey, if I had to start this content creation 6, 7 years back, I would not have those stories because a significant leap in my career happened in the last 7 years. And I gathered those experiences, which now, if I reflect on, I can convert them into meaningful content that the audience or the people on LinkedIn will be able to relate to. So totally agree with what you just said. Now, let's dive into your journey. Now, typically with all my guests so far, I have always started with their early childhood, with who they were, but we will come to that about you a little later. What I'm very curious about is your journey as a content creator. It's been remarkable. And of course, it is not a one-day effort. I'd love to start by asking, how did content creation become a part of your story? When did it happen? What were the triggers?
Everything about my life, and I that is one of the reasons why I go by the name Brick by Brick, because it is actually everything is brick by brick for me. Nothing has really happened overnight, and it doesn't happen for anybody actually. So it appears to other people like, overnight success, or, I knew this guy, but now look where he is and all that kind of. That is not the person's story. That is the story you see or somebody else sees.
Right.
And it is the same for everybody, right? So whether it is somebody like Uncle Wariku, who's a legend in this space, or some new creator, or your example, 6 months, right? 2 years down the line, if you stay consistent, there will be people looking up to you and say that, oh, wow, Pamela, I knew her. I was going around on, morning walk with her, and now see where she is. So
Yes.
I am a little ahead in that journey. So you see it differently. But frankly, the challenges, the limitations, the joy, the difficulties, everything is the same that you face. So that's something I would like to share. And then to answer your question specifically about how did all this happen, I was always a very, you can say, a person interested in sharing what I thought about a topic. Not knowing enough about a topic was never a hindrance for me to share my opinion. And that is a superpower. So for a content creator, that is a superpower. You don't really have to know everything about it. And
Correct.
it's a limitation as well, because you might end up making a fool of yourself at some point because you don't know enough about a topic, but you still want to have an opinion. So the antidote to that is that you choose your window and say that, okay, I will speak about these topics and not everything else. I don't want to speak about the Olympics. I don't want to speak about other national or international issues, but because I don't know. And what is the point in having an opinion on those topics? So you will find a little bit of that. And over the years, as I started sharing a little bit more initially offline with people, I would even go for a walk after lunch at work, and there would be always a crowd of 5, 7, 10 people with me who would be listening to my stories or anecdotes and all. So this came naturally. I can't take any credit for what you see today, except that I did learn that you have to hone your craft. You may have talent or some inborn ability, but you have to hone your craft. So that credit I can take in the last few years. And the other credit is, of course, that you have to be a little consistent. That doesn't mean daily, but it means regularly. And it also means consistency of topics. So initially, when I started writing, I was writing on 4 or 5 topics, including personal branding and including, of course, quality which is my day job, and of course, LinkedIn and other topics. And I even had a view on, national stuff and what is happening around us.
Yes.
For the last 4 or 5 years, I've not written anything about it. Even today, my post is not about Independence Day, because the post will live. Independence Day is a separate conversation, no, view to share there.
Exactly.
So that is something that probably people see differently in me, and similar people, similar creators like me. And the last point I would say that I actually don't like the word creator. I heard there's a lot that we are not creating anything. It is all around us. We are just catching it and packaging it and resharing it. But since
Correct.
share word doesn't sound very nice, I think
Yes.
is a little better sounding word. But inherently, I agree with the word that we are not really creating anything. It's all out there. We're just catching it from others, and maybe we are better at packaging that kind of
Yes.
thing.
Totally agree. And what I just heard and completely resonate with is, I have observed this. Your content is very natural. It doesn't seem that you have written it without experience. So the experience is also very evident. And hence, whatever you write is so relatable because it has happened with you or you have experienced it in some shape and form. And content creation comes naturally to you, because of which it is so authentic. It has an impact when somebody is reading it. So when I started really going through your content, my basic reason of following you was this authenticity in the guidance that you're providing. For me, I did not look at it like content creation. I was looking at it like, Anshuman is sharing his knowledge with us and he's seen the world a little more than me. So I might as well learn something. For me, it was as rich as reading a book and learning from it. So thank you
Thank
for being so authentic and sharing this with all of us. I'm sure people beyond who follow you, who read your content, also get benefited. And I've been following your, Career Corners short videos as well. They're like those capsules of vitamin that you take in the morning. It just boosts me for the day. Thank you for making so much effort to think on what will really resonate with people. And that's the authenticity that I truly appreciate in your work.
No, thank you very much, Pamela. But I don't really think too much about what people will like.
And there is this debate always in this space that should you write what the audience will like or should you write what you will like?
Yes.
And I generally write from a place of I'm not pontificating. I'm not saying that, I learned this, therefore you should learn. I am trying to hold your hand and taking you for a slight walk and then sharing the story. And in that process, whatever lesson you draw as an audience is fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm not controlling the lesson you might draw. I'm probably only sharing the experience and then leaving the lesson for people to draw. And that is the path I have chosen. I'm not sure this is the right path, this is the best path, will it get me more followers? I don't really care. But what I understand is that this is the best way to teach anybody. This is the best way I have learned when somebody has not given me the lesson, but given, that whole experience becomes the lesson.
Absolutely.
So that's what I try. And looks like at least with you, it is working.
It is working. Absolutely. There are
So-
many more like me. Another obvious next follow-up is Anshuman. You're very passionate about quality management as well. And that's your identity at work. How do you balance your content creation passion with a diverse core job? Because many of us, including myself, I have a day job and I'm passionate about sharing knowledge, and hence I go on LinkedIn and other platforms to share content. But I always find that juggle very difficult. Some days I'm really not able to squeeze in content creation activities in my day job. How do you do this so well?
I actually don't think I do well or well enough. I would like to do better, but I appreciate that I might be doing better than others. So I am very aware of that. And I do get this question quite a lot. So one answer is that I don't look for balance. I am not a very work-life balance person or balance. There is no balance actually. You do one thing at a time and you balance over a period of time, like a week or a month. You don't balance in the hour or in the day. That is one of the myths and the difficulties that many people have, that we are trying to play a zero-sum game and balance out everything. It never balances out, right? So there will be days where you'll be a little bit more at work. There will be days where you'll be a little bit more at this kind of thing. And for me, my day job, which is quality management and operational excellence, is more important. So if I don't have anything to say on LinkedIn or YouTube for a week, I don't post. I have no guilt, no issue with that. Invariably, I do have something to post on LinkedIn at least on a daily basis, but there is no pressure I take. So I don't take that pressure at all. Now, to more specifically answer the balance part, I think after a while you have a content pipeline. So I have a all content pipeline. I usually don't repeat content at all. So for the past 5-6 years, everything that I've shared, hardly anything has been repeated. Only some, those witty one-liners sometimes that I quote. I just take the same image from the past but I rewrite the post. Even the stories that I have shared, I have always rewritten the story, totally word by word. That is the joy. I derive joy in even telling the same story in a different way with a different lesson once again. That itself gives me joy. And some others who have that pressure may not think this way, but then they are almost full-time content creators, right? So they better be more regular than I am. So
correct. Okay. So now this is an observation, and for those of you hearing to this podcast don't know, I know Anshuman for a couple of years now. We live in the same apartment. So I've also seen him being very fitness freak, going out on runs, very regular with a lot of stuff. And very recently, I also observed that he has an incredible global network. The kind of guests he brings on his show, the kind of people that he is connected with and can introduce you to is incredible. So Anshuman, you have to share with us the secret source of networking and what keeps you energized and motivated rather than feeling drained about networking. I at times feel very drained, and I don't know why that feeling comes. I probably have to dig a little deeper. But from your end, you seem to have a rocking network. How do you make it happen?
you make it sound like almost some award or something, but really speaking, again, this is an unglamorous answer. I don't see it that way. So I don't see networking like many people see. I see it more like there is an opportunity to connect, there is an opportunity to share, to give something. This society, this universe, the whole people we work with has allowed us to flourish. And I remain grateful that, none of us, we are not who we are without the society around us. So what is this pressure about networking? Pressure about networking comes because we are thinking give and take. If you only think give, there is no pressure, right? Because you are not expecting anything back. You are giving. And if something comes along, fine. And you are not even thinking about what you will receive in return. That networking usually, I don't know whether you can call it networking in the classical sense, but if you can call it, that's how I have lived. And most of my connections are of the same kind as well. And you talked about global. The global network is more because of my quality and operational excellence experience. So I've been in that space for a while now and have had global roles. So obviously likes attract each other and that kind of thing. So, but on your specific networking question, one advice I can give anybody is that please don't see it as a zero sum or whatever it is that, or a point game that you are giving and therefore you will receive. You may not receive. You may give somebody and another person might benefit from that. I connect a lot of people with other people and I'm fully aware that sometimes it will not work, sometimes it will work. But even if it works 1 out of 100 and it helps somebody, that's fine. That's what the network was for. And I will receive something from somewhere else through somebody else's connection. And if I don't receive, that's also okay. Why that pressure of give and take? So the summarized answer is that I don't see networking as networking of give and take or anything. I just see it as give. It's an opportunity to share, give whatever we have while we can give.
I'll not let you go without answering this. Do you want to share something with our readers or listeners about any book in specific? We can see a lot of books behind you, and I see you suggesting a lot of books on your posts. How do they learn the art of networking? Of course, what you said is a really golden advice. But other than that, if they really want to dig deep into networking and understand the nuances, any specific book you want to suggest that people can go through?
I would say that you can't really learn swimming by watching YouTube. So, so you
That's the
can't
witty Anshuman answer.
so you can't really get better at networking by reading a book. You get better at networking by networking. So that is one. But of course, some knowledge helps. And I won't recommend a specific book, but I would definitely say that if you are in a specific field, anybody listening to this, if you're in a specific field, please know more about that field. Because if you come across as let us say, an artificial intelligence expert and your basics are weak, there will be zero networking because people will find you out and say that this guy is not, or she doesn't know about what she's talking. All those things will happen. So first thing is that if you have a domain, any field that you claim to be an expert on or a good student of, please be really an expert of that field. That is non-negotiable. So most of these books are either management, general management or quality related books. Of late, I've been very interested in the question of why people do something, not other things, right? So books from people like Adam Grant and all are some of my favorites. Those things, then that is the next layer. So that's the next brick you build. The first foundation brick is about your domain. The next brick you build is about what is your additional interest area. So my additional interest area is answering why do people do something and not other things. So human motivation part, applied behavioral psychology, you can say, or there are multiple names, but that's my interest area. Hence, many of these books are around that. Another brick on top of that is the storytelling bit that I've now been interested a little bit on in those kinds. So some of these books are those kind of books. So I would say that you have to make your own wall. Anybody listening has to make their own wall. But the non-negotiable is the foundation should be your own subject. Once your subject is strong, you can add the second, third, fourth layer of bricks, and that really depends on you. Some of these layers could be common, but others could be like I know people who are very interested in public speaking as a thing, so they are part of Postmasters or something like that, right? So that helps them network a little bit. That is the next layer that they have it. But assume that you imagine a person who has zero foundation or very weak foundation becomes a part of Toastmasters. What will after 2-3 discussions? What will you talk about? You won't have anything. So that foundation is the most critical brick, like in everything in life. So I will dodge your question about specific book because I don't think specific book is the right way to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Anshuman, you motivate all of us with your posts. How do you keep yourself motivated?
I am always motivated. I am very happy. I am always looking forward to the next day. I don't know. It's a tough question.
There are no moments. There is nothing in particular you do to keep yourself motivated or keep yourself in the momentum.
Nothing consciously, Pamela, but of course, I do read a lot. I do listen to podcasts and other audible book format things. I also watch some YouTube videos here and there whenever I get time. And I make it a point to keep it wide spectrum. So that is something that maybe can help. Like if I'm listening to a podcast on some scientific research on the micronutrients that one needs to take for longevity. Not that I'm interested in living 150 years, but the sheer ability of a scientist to convert the very complex topic into a podcast for general public, that is very exciting for me. So that will be motivation for me. A couple of days back, I was listening to somebody, Dr. Steve Bartlett's podcast talking about the science of sleep. So, and what I found fascinating is she's a young mother now. And she said that all that I have been teaching has now gone out of the window because for the last 1 year, I have discovered that none of this applies to young mothers. And it was a laugh aloud moment for me just by myself. So these are the special sparks that keep you grounded and motivated. In general, I have never really felt the extra need to be motivated. And also because if I'm a little low, I am happy being low. I have no problem, no conflict with myself that if I have a bad day at work, I understand that the human mind, emotion, brain, heart, everything will react in a different way and I let it be. I make no extra effort to feel happy when I am grumpy. The other way around, which hopefully doesn't happen. But I see that a lot of people do this, that if you are happy in your skin, then generally you don't need external motivation from anywhere.
Yes.
But specific answer to a question that I do read a lot and watch and hear a lot of wide spectrum stuff, and that helps.
That helps to stay happy and motivated, which is great to hear. And what I gather back from this conversation is you seem to have a lot of acceptance about things around you, which makes you very non-conflicted with any situation, which gives you a lot of inner peace, if I may summarize it that way. But in today's day and age, when we are inundated with social media content, people do complain about social media fatigue. Have you ever experienced it? And if yes, how did you deal with it?
Maybe I'm beyond the age of social media fatigue because I grew up in a time when there was no phone also, no desk phone also. So forget mobile phone. But I can see what people mean. I have two grown-up kids and I can see them a little bit more involved. But learning from my elder son who's now interning and is grown up looking forward to his first job, now that he has work, he is not spending as much time on his phone. So really speaking, our phone or any other distraction is a way to kill time when we don't have anything meaningful to do. So the answer always is to find something meaningful to do. If you have something meaningful to do, mind is wired in such a way that it will not look for other things.
Absolutely.
So and there is Neerayal's book called Indestructible who talks about this thing as well. Then James Clear also talks about this thing. But Neerayal's book actually treats this topic very well. Is that because we are a little worried about what we have in front of us to do and we don't understand the process and the complications and we want to avoid that. And that's why the mind takes us to something else. So if we have something very important to do, we often go reach out to our phone.
Correct.
So my method is that when at work, mostly my phone is at least 2-3 meters away from me. So and most people at work know me as I always have my video on, so that if I have my phone in my hand, other people can make out. That puts some pressure on me not to reach out for my phone or anything else and focus on the meeting. So
Work. Now, as we come to the end of the show, Anshuman, we typically, as I told you, start with everybody's journey on how they started as a child, how they traversed through the transition, and then experience changes and became the person that they are while they're on the show. We will wrap up this show with a summary of your life. If you had 60 seconds to summarize and tell us what Anshuman was when he was a young child, and I'm not, it's unfair to make it 60 seconds. You can take the time you need. It's your life. Help us see through it, because what we see on the surface is a phenomenal, and I'm using the word creator, despite the fact that you don't like it, because you are turning around content which is so inspirational. But you started from somewhere as a child, from a different city, work brought you to a different place, and if you could just walk us through that journey, it'll be a lovely conclusion to this conversation.
You are going to regret this question, Pamela, because the answer again is very unglamorous.
Which is okay. No, very glamorous, Anshuman. So you have great answers, but you put this tag, it's non-glamorous. You reduce expectations. But go on.
No, but it really is. I'm not one of those biopic people, right? So there might be other people who have that life story, very ordinary life story. I was born in Gorakhpur, brought up in Delhi. My parents still live there, and very average schooling in the sense. The school was nice. I was average. So towards the end of grade 12th, which is senior school, I realized that you might have to do something to get somewhere in life. This is not this roller coaster or whatever. The fun life is not going to get you anywhere. So that's the first time I realized that something has to be done about your career or education. My parents were not necessarily very insisting type, and so I don't know whether it would have helped. But in summary, and then I, like everybody else, I appeared for all these IIT and all these other exams, didn't clear a single one, and I know why. Combination of talent and effort, and when you have both, which is below average, it's not going to get you anywhere. So that was a lesson in a way that I thought I missed a chance. I worked harder. I don't say it with regret. I just say it with realization that if you have less than average talent, then you have to put more than average effort. If you are willing to put less than average effort, then you should have more than average talent. So in my
Correct.
case, both were below average. And so no chance. I took admission in Delhi University, but quickly realized that I wanted to do my engineering. Went to Nagpur University. Long story. Some of my posts are about this. And in third year or so, I realized that I would need some expertise or I would have to improve my confidence and ability to speak in front of people. What is today called public speaking? The word wasn't there at that time, at least not in my dictionary. I did realize that I had to improve.
There
And
was no
then
awareness. There was no
there was
awareness in those days.
and I studied in Nagpur, and it was below awareness for national awareness at that time also. So you can say
Correct.
much of it
Correct.
has been all below average in every place. Around that time, then I started to realize that you have to do something extra. This is not going to get you a job. Became the first person from my college to get a campus placement. Did well, did my MBA, and then thereafter things have been a conscious brick after brick, brick after brick. So the difficulty with brick after brick is that it takes time, but you do get somewhere when people will ask you this question.
Correct.
That's the story. Nothing glamorous, very normal, average or below average kind of education. But I made everything count. I think if I have to look back, like you asked, I have made everything count. Whatever I missed out on education due to my own lack of effort. No, nothing for the school was amazing. My parents were supportive. I had no shortage of anything that I wanted. All books I had to utter the book and it was available. So I don't have those stories of deprivation or I didn't have this and that. I had pretty normal childhood for those times. So that's the story, and I think that's the story of 99.99 or 99% people. So we
Yes.
don't have to look for glamour in everything. We have to look for just that this guy is like me. If he can do this, I can do better. If that's the message some of your listeners, audience can take, I would be very, very happy with this time that we have invested today. That if somebody as unglamorous, below average like me can get to where I have, both in my professional career and in the creator career that you
Yes.
say, anybody can do this. Totally anybody. Everybody can, most people can do much better actually. So that's how I look at it.
I'll extract the glamorous part of that answer, which you call non-glamorous. You have achieved a certain height in your content creation journey in your professional career, balancing it both and staying so calm, composed, and so spontaneous about sharing your experience. And what you mentioned about the drive that you developed during your college days and then made a very conscious effort. That's the glamorous part, which many of us miss. And we cannot go back to education always to fill that gap, but you made a conscious effort, and that effort is evident. And you also have mentioned that it took time, which I'm sure the listeners would relate to, that there is no overnight pill to pop and you get that success that you have today. So it was really lovely, Anshuman, having this heart to heart conversation. To bring you on the show would definitely benefit a lot of our listeners hearing out your story, because as you rightly said, I can relate to it. I'm sure many of my listeners can relate to it, because you are one of us who has made it to where he has because of the conscious effort. I look forward to many such conversations, Anshuman, and I don't know if I can get to 100 episodes like you did. I would definitely make a conscious effort and try to take it to the next level, because my goal is as well as to share knowledge and bring more transition stories in front of our audience. But thank you so much for this time and effort and these authentic answers.
It was lovely being on the show, and may you get to 1,000 shows. Why 100, right? So why stop at 100?
That's the glamorous Anshuman advice.
Always a pleasure talking to like-minded people. So all the best to you and your audience, and happy being here again if you need me ever.
Yes, for sure. For sure. Thank you.